I am thrilled to be joined by Renaii West, who's written a book that is so entertaining and so inspirational. The Wrong Side of the Flame. What do you think of when you think of the wrong side of the flame? I guarantee it's going to take you in directions you didn't even think about. So you can see her smiling face, and we're thrilled to have her here on Author's Corner with me, Kate Delaney. Renaii, thanks so much for hanging with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's talk about your journey. First of all, what inspired you to write the book?
I think I've always been fascinated by what I would call the dual nature of things, the concept of pleasure and pain, how something can be so much fun, but if used and abused and not respected, it leads into pain. A good example might be I might go out with friends and have a margarita, and I'm having a great time. If I have a pitcher of margarita, I'm going to be experiencing pain. Some relationships, you start out, they're fun, and you think, oh, I love the fact that this guy is paying so much attention to me. And then you get over to, oh my God, he's controlling. And so it's that dual nature of pleasure and pain, and I think fire so represents that. And, fire is, if you're by a flame, is soothing, it's warm, it helped humanity cook foods. It was a great thing for fire, if you believe in mythology, to be given to the mortals. But, I live in Southern California. I know how dangerous fires can be if you allow it to get out of hand. Yeah. And so I did want to create a story which fire would be a character and the dual nature of it. And then the other thing is, I would say for the last 10, 15 years, I got into, just for exercise, I started taking belly dance. And then I got into a group where we were performing and having fun, which meant we were going to places like Renaissance fairs and and street fairs and pirate fairs. And we got invited to sometimes perform at what I would call adult venues, and where maybe you don't definitely want to bring children. Anyway, I just began to notice that the people who were, I would say, lifestylers, people who were there a lot, this was their life, while they were a little odd and outside, a little on the edge, I would say, they were also fascinated. They were usually very well educated, well versed, they were funny, they were articulate. And I was thinking, I never see these people in books. I never see these people in movies or TV shows unless they're being made fun of or they're the villain, or the nerds that, hang around. And I just sort of thought, I'm going to use these people and create a story, of the tight friendship they have, because many of these people sort of seem to create little tribes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I do know I have younger like cousins who talk to me about their chosen families when they spend Thanksgiving. People who are not related by blood, but they really create a tightness. That is something that's going on a lot today, I think. And as I said, I also was fascinated by these people that many would kind of consider a little odd, but at the same time, if they moved on your block and were your neighbors, you would have no problems with them. They're in many ways, they're just perfectly normal, just a little odd in some ways. So, and they also sort of are resourceful. So I just thought this would be a good group to sort of throw into this story, especially since a lot of them are fire performers. A lot of times belly dancers, I don't know if you've ever seen them when they have those things on their hands.
Yeah.
And they're dancing with the flames. And then, I have, friends, that I met there. Not only do they perform with fire, but they do that dangerous fire breathing. that's advanced fire performing. And so I just thought they'd be a good people to write a story about.
So, absolutely. And the story that's why I said the story is going to take you in places you did not expect. And I love what you just told us, because as you said, you didn't see these people in books. You weren't reading about that unless they were the villains or they were the complete oddballs, and it was just a momentary thing. So tell us about the story, The Wrong Side of the Flame.
Well, the main character is Brighid, and she sort of views herself as a modern fire goddess, and she can't help it. She was named after Brighid, and that's one of the Celtic goddesses of fire. Her last name is LaFlamme, or LaFlamme. Fortunately, I don't have to pronounce it very often. And she herself, has become a belly dancer that works with fire, and she, kind of creates her own little tribe, and she's kind of the leader of the tribe. And they bring in a newbie. There's a newbie that joins them, and she and this newbie become ultimate great friends. And I think that's also interesting in that sometimes men and women can be great friends. There can be maybe an attraction, but they don't necessarily go. They are just good friends. And so that was the story I wanted to create. And he is ambitious. He's an aspiring actor, because the story takes place in Los Angeles. And one of the themes, I talk about the dual nature of fire. Well, ambition can be. There's a dual nature to ambition. It's good to take chances. It's good to go for it. At what point do you lose your humanity? At what point do you start making bad decisions? Do you sacrifice others? Do you step on others? And so this is, a story about that kind of ambition. Anyway, this newbie ends up, can I give a plot? Is it okay if I give some of the plot away?
Yes, we want to hear the plot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this beautiful young newbie ends up dead. He, in the cozy mystery, somebody has to, bite it, and that's him. And it is ruled as and it's a fire accident. And he's a fire performer, so that's sort of the irony to everybody. And it's ruled an accident. He's alone, and it's ruled just a sad, tragic accident. And Bridge is like, no, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And one of the reasons she doesn't buy it is she says he knows fire. He knows what to stay on the right side of the flame. He would not put himself in that position. So she's just not buying that it was an accident. And so it's her journey, and she helps, and she grabs her group, and they help her with their skills. Two of her friends, they were friends in college, and one becomes a computer expert. So she gets that one working, maybe not legally going into people's computers, hacking, I guess you could call it. Sure. And she herself does research, and she herself takes a journey, to see his last steps. And so it's the power of friendship to discover the truth. And they do, and that can put them temporarily in harm's way. And that gets them also stepping on stones too. And she has to make some difficult decisions, on this journey. This step she's going to take, it may be a little illegal. If she finds something, it's not going to hold up in court, but does she go there? And so a lot of it is, their journey and taking chances in finding the truth of, their beloved friend.
Yeah. When you wrote this, you can just hear your passion in your voice for these characters, and you know them so well. Did it just kind of pour out of you when you started to write?
It did. And I think a lot of writers could say this. When I start writing, I have to have the plot. I have to have the ending to some extent, because I need to know where I'm going. But as I start writing, changes happen because it's more organic. It's like it's just ideas start coming. And most of the time, the muse is with you. And then at times when the muse is not with me, I just type and it's awful, but it at least will lay a foundation for when the muse comes back. And I think most writers talk about how the muse can be fickle.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But when she does show up, it's wonderful. Sometimes she shows up in the middle of the night and it's like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
So for you, when you get to the final page and then the baby is birthed, the wrong side of the flame is out there, which, by the way, everybody listening, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all over the place.
Yeah.
Beautiful cover. I love it. You see it, and when you see it out there in the world, what does that feel like to you?
Oh my gosh, it is your baby. It is special. I can't explain it. There was a book fair that I could not attend. This past year, I have had to have 2 knee replacement surgeries, and I'm so glad I did. I am moving around so much better. But anyway, it was right after my surgery, so I couldn't make it physically, but I sent the book. And so I'm watching the videos that came from it, and somebody picks up my book and shows the cover, because the cover, let's face it, I wish I could claim I made it, but I, didn't. But anyway, and I went, wow, somebody really was attracted to my book and had to show it. And there's a lot of pride. There is, and the reaction to it. I'm not really good at self-promotion. Like, I'm type with my friends, you don't have to read my books if you don't want to. Friendships doesn't based on that. And when they do read it and they comment on it and they tell me what they liked about it, it's fun. But at the same time, I love my brother. He's a doctor. He hasn't read my books. He just hasn't gotten around to it. But he's written a medical book, and I said, well, I haven't read that. So, we're even.
So what a great sense of humor you have. So the wrong side of the flame, when people read your novel, what do you kind of hope they take away when they read it?
Well, I hope, one, they like the characters. As I said, it was my goal to make these characters, and I didn't sugarcoat it. I mean, they're authentic. I didn't take somebody that's really bad and gave them a good thing. It is authentic, but I'm hoping that they get to know these characters and like them and say, gee, these are people I would like to hang out with. So I hope they like the characters, because I plan on using them again. And I also hope they pick up the idea of the power of friendship, about about following your gut instincts when you think a friend has been wrong and you want to step up and do something about it. And then the fact that they worked together. So it is about following your gut feelings. I also hope they kind of understand, and I'm not trying to preach, but stay on the right side of the flame. Sometimes, everybody says get out of your comfort zone, and that's good to some extent. But there's a reason why we have a comfort zone, because sometimes that's our gut instinct saying this is where we belong. Right. And so the idea of understanding the dual nature, as I said, a margarita can be fun. Drinking a whole pitcher of margarita, not a good idea. Right. If you're starting to get healthy, so you go out and take a brisk walk, good. If you haven't run in years, trying to run a marathon on the first date, not a good idea. So it's the idea of the pleasure and pain, and fire is that. Here's the flame. What side do you want to be on? Right, exactly. Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, it is just a terrific, terrific book, and it makes me wonder, because you even said the characters. We'll see some of them again. What's next for you? Well, can you tease us a little bit with what's coming up? Well, I am writing my 3rd novel, and I'm taking the characters from my first book, and it's for women, and you probably notice a pattern here. They're all sort of based after the goddesses from the Apple of Discord. We have a Hera person, an Aphrodite person, an Athena person, and the Chaos. Oh my God, Discordia, or Eris. And and the story ended very well in the first one, And now these are the characters 10 years later. And they're still sort of affected by what happened 10 years earlier. But they have also moved on and, and again, I write cozy mysteries. Life is good, but there will be a problem and they will have to deal with that problem.
I like that.
That's what, I think that's why I like cozy mysteries, because there's always a resolution.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I like your writing style, that's for sure. So I can't wait for the next one. There's no question about it. You are a delight, Renaii. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me.